My people, Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister, Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, is making the continent very proud. In a powerful and historic address, he takes a bold stand for African sovereignty and global justice. As the UN General Assembly adopted a Ghana-led resolution which recognizes the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity, paving the way for reparatory justice. Let's watch this short video as the Foreign Affairs Minister addresses the international media very briefly.
Among those that voted against the resolution was the United States. Were you disappointed by that vote? And of course, also, if you can comment on those that abstained, more than 50 nations. How do you feel about those? Thank you.
So I would like to comment on the reasons they gave. They sought to create the impression that the time for negotiations have been short. The President of Ghana served notice last year in September when he delivered his address at the 80th session of the General Assembly. Immediately thereafter, we put together a broad-based coalition, including experts, academics, researchers, historians from all regions of the world. And we commenced negotiations. In the history of the United Nations, this has been a resolution that has gone through so many rounds of consultations. And even the duration for this consultation, each consultation, the standard practice at the UN is that it takes 1.5 hours. We allocated 3 hours, twice the time, and had multiple rounds of negotiations. So there are some that to us, it is clear that even if we gave them 50 years, they would say that the time is not enough. But we can no longer wait. September, we will be commemorating 100 years since the last slavery was abolished. 100 years. And yet there has been no justice. A whole century. So we cannot keep waiting for those who do not want to reckon, who do not want to come to the table with urgency and with acknowledgement that this is a matter that can no longer be swept under the carpet. So we disagree with the notion that there was no time for negotiations. Secondly, the claim they have made that we are seeking to create a hierarchy of crimes. We have stated clearly that it is not about hierarchy. We are only speaking to a historical fact. Never in the history of mankind have we had such a systemic crime. We took over 3 centuries, more than 300 years, with its consequences still lingering unto this day, manifesting in racism, in structural inequality. So we are talking about the contextual framing of what has happened, not about ranking crimes. And we made that very clear. So we are clear in our minds that some are just deliberately stonewalling and introducing red herring. But what is fundamental, which nobody can deny, is that more than 12.5 million people were forcibly removed from the continent. More than 3 million people died, were tossed into the transatlantic ocean, which is a mass grave site. And in our country, Ghana, we are currently, UNESCO has certified that, the country with the highest number of slave forts and castles. We are living witnesses on a daily basis when we go into those castles and forts and we see the door of no return. We break down. My daughter Indiva, on an excursion only last week, broke down and asked me, "Daddy, what did we do wrong? And why has there been no justice?" I had no answers for my 14-year-old daughter. So we live with these experiences on a daily basis, and we live with the structural consequences. And that is what this is about. All those other matters about ranking, about time, about more space for negotiations, we believe that they are just red herrings, and it is not a demonstration of good faith so far as the pursuit of justice in this matter is concerned.
One of the key reasons raised by the United States for which reason they are abstaining is the lack of clarity on who is the recipient of the reparatory justice. What is your response to that?
That is surprising because we have, in this resolution, talked about frameworks which will put in place that will take care of the consequences. We all know that the consequences of the transatlantic slave trade has been the lack of opportunity, discrimination, the degradation of people of color. So we have said, let's have frameworks that will serve as endowment funds to support education, to support empowerment, to support skills training, capital for entrepreneurs, and all of that. And we have made clear that African leaders or Caribbean leaders are not looking for money. It goes against our conscience to seek to profit from this. We don't want any payments made to us directly. We are talking about courses to deal with the structural inequalities. And we are also talking about the return of artifacts to the continent. It's all in the resolution. There are thousands of artifacts from Egypt all the way to the Ashanti Kingdom in Ghana. Those artifacts should not be returned on piecemeal as and when those who are in custody of those artifacts are in a good mood. So we have outlined what must be done and to whom these redress should be addressed to. So again, it is totally wrong for a claim to be made that there is no clarity about who benefits from reparatory justice. Okay.
Congratulations on the overwhelming victory in the General Assembly. I know you're busy, so I'll make it quick. What message does this resolution, this draft that has now been adopted, send to other people outside Africa right now that are fighting for reparatory justice?
This resolution sends a very clear message that the international community would no longer tolerate impunity, that the international community stands for justice, that the international community and our multilateral system we have erected, no matter how long it takes, the day of reckoning will come. And so all of us as leaders should be mindful of our actions and our policies, that once we violate the rights of others, once we engage in impunity, in acts of injustice, the day of reckoning will come. To me, that is a very, very profound message that the UN is sending to the world today. Let me take the last one.
Stefan Wakara, in New York. Did you have, in this process, did you have any contact with African American leaders here in this country, especially in Congress? Did you have any contact?
Yes, we did. I personally met with the Congressional Black Caucus. I met with the NAACP. I met with the NAN of which is led by Reverend Al Sharpton, and I am delighted to note that following our meetings, they all publicly endorsed this draft resolution. The Congressional Black Caucus actually wrote to the U.S. ambassador here to make sure that he votes in favor of this resolution. I'm sure he's really in trouble with the Congressional Black Caucus, 62 congressmen who urged him to vote positively, and he's defied them. I don't want to be in his shoes today. There was also a statement of endorsement yesterday from NAACP, and I also note that a lot of black members of parliament, particularly in the House of Commons, the MP Belle Ribeiro, she has also done a phenomenal job in mobilizing the House of Commons in support of this resolution. So we've had a very broad-based coalition, and we thank them very much for